Hey everyone, this is Christian from the Writing Center, and today we're going to be summarizing the previous two videos on nouns and verbs, as well as looking at SVO, sentence verb object structure. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Share screen. Okay, good. So we're going to quickly recap the basics of the abbreviated definitions that we use for nouns and verbs based on Webster's Ninth Collegiate Dictionary. A noun is a word that is the name of something as a person, animal, place, thing, quality, idea, or action. A verb is the grammatical center of a predicate and expresses an act, occurrence, or mode of being that in various languages is inflected for agreement with the subject. A verb, and the highly condensed definition, just the bare essence of what a verb is a word that expresses an act, occurrence, or mode of being. Now, we also talked about subject and predicate in the previous video, and we found that the subject, which is usually a noun or a pronoun, usually comes towards the front of a sentence. And the subject also tells us what it is that we're talking about. The predicate contains the verb as its core component and adds important information about the subject. And these two aren't exact definitions, but I wanted to kind of recap, just kind of summarize what the subject and predicate are. Now, we'll get to this definition in a second, but we're going to talk about how all of this relates to SVO structure. SVO, or subjective verb object structure, is the general structure in English sentences. As the subject usually comes first in a sentence, it is followed by a verb, and then the object comes last. And according to Webster's Ninth Collegiate Dictionary, an object, here we go, is a noun or noun equivalent as a pronoun, gerund, or clause, denoting the goal or result of the action of a verb, or a noun or noun equivalent in a prepositional phrase. So remember these examples from the noun video? That tree has apples. My pet cat is sitting on a book, right? Both sentences have their nouns highlighted in yellow, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper and we're going to piece together everything that we've already gone over. So, right? We already have the nouns highlighted in yellow. But now let's highlight the verbs. So in this sentence, that tree has apples. We'll highlight the verb in green. My pet cat is, right? That's a verb. And also sitting is a verb, right? So I'll highlight these both in green. On a book, right? Now, what we have here is we have our subject. Technically, our subject is that tree, but for our purposes here, we'll just leave this as it is. I'm not going to go over and highlight this again. In this sentence, my pet cat would be the subject, right? But we'll leave it as tree and cat just for simplicity's sake. And then the object. How do we find what the object is? So we go back to the definition of what an object is. So our first definition, right? A noun or noun equivalent as, let me go up here. A noun or noun equivalent as a pronoun, gerund, or clause denoting the goal or result of the action of a verb, right? So we have our verb here. And what is the result or action of having apples, right? That is the noun that denotes kind of the result of that verb, right? Additionally, what we could do is remember SVO structure, and well, the subject usually comes first, right? So this would be the subject, then we have the verb, and then we have the object. right? That's another way we could look at it. Now, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than this second sentence because we have more words, but here we go. We've got our subject, which is technically this, but we can just look at it as cat for now, for simplicity's sake. And then we have our first verb, is. Now, remember what I said when we have two verbs in a row? The first one is conjugated and the second one is not. Now, sitting, right, is the present progressive form of the verb to sit. And this technically is not a conjugation because it doesn't agree with the noun. Sitting basically needs to be preceded by a conjugated verb, which we have here, is. That's the conjugated verb. And this we know is the conjugated verb because it agrees with cat, right? Cat is the third person singular conjugation. Sorry, is the third person singular conjugation that agrees with cat, right? Then sitting, basically, it just needs to be preceded by a conjugated verb, right? So we still, the rule still holds that we don't have two conjugated verbs in a row. If we did, it would say, my pet cat sits on a book. That doesn't make sense, right? So the rule still holds. I'm not going to explain further now, but that's just another thing to keep in mind, right? And then on a book. So how do we know that book is the object? Well, let's look at the other definition of an object, right? Go back up here. The noun or noun equivalent in a prepositional phrase. Now, a prepositional phrase is just a phrase, which is a couple words, that has a preposition in it, right? On is a preposition, and I know we haven't talked about prepositions yet, but on is one of them. It just like relates things. And we'll give a better definition when we talk about prepositions, but for now, just know that prepositions relate things to one another. On is our preposition, and this is the noun or noun equivalent in that prepositional phrase, and therefore is the object. So I'm going to highlight the objects in red, right? We have this and this, right? So we have we have subject, verb, object, subject, verb, second verb, and then object within a prepositional phrase. All right, so that will do it for today. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care. Stop my share. Okay, there we go. We'll see you later.